Sorry, what was that?
Well, I'm wondering if there's a point at which one's consciousness has expanded enough that there's no longer a connection to or a need for a higher self.
Well, the higher self is part of the system, so it'll always be needed. But it's more of an issue. The issue the goal is not to expand to the point where you no longer need spirit. Spirit is the goal. So what you're trying to do is get to the point where you're connected to spirit, and then what you're also trying to do, and the best, and you have to do that. Well, it has to be done through connection. Part of the connection is the best way to connect is through being happy, a higher vibration. Because if you are trying to connect on a lower vibration, you'll connect to the lower spirits,
Mhm.
the negative ones, and those ones can cause problems.
Mhm.
The beings of the light are the ones that you want to communicate with and connect with, and those are the ones with power. And those are the ones that are more powerful than the negative ones, and those are the ones that will bring you the happiness. The lower vibrational beings will bring you what I call sugar-coated hate.
Mhm.
They will give you a sense of what you think is happiness, but in reality, it isn't. So, what sugar-coated hate is that's, to give an example, that's where in the Judeo-Christian religions, you have one religion where, you know, it has a following and everybody loves everybody within that following. But then the moment there is the other religion, they're like, oh, I love you because you're, I don't know, Jewish. Oh, but they're Christian, so we don't love them because they're not us. So we hate
Mhm.
them. So that's what I call sugar-coated hate.
Mhm.
So there's like this community, communal love within the particular group, but anybody else outside of that group is hated.
Mhm.
So when you have that kind of low vibration, that's when you will have trouble connecting properly with spirit.
Yes. Would dark energies have a higher self that is also dark?
Okay, so okay, so it doesn't quite, well, they have a higher self, but you see the thing is that all beings have the ability to be dark or light. So you have a being that's light, and then you have the darker beings um are only beings that are learning.
Mhm.
They're learning and they're growing, and eventually they will reach the upper levels and become light. So, in much the same way, like um, it is possible, for example, someone like Al Capone could have been in a previous life a a demon, for example,
Mhm.
but then graduated to human, but you can see that his tendencies are demon-like.
Yes.
Okay, so he's kind of like growing. So it doesn't, it's not that black and white where there's a dark being and then there's the dark. No, it's more of a lower being, but he has connection to the same stuff. It's just a matter of learning and understanding what it means to be a being of light. It's all part of the learning process.
Would it be fair to say that a higher self who has some beings connected to it, humans, who are ascending or getting close to it, could they also have some Al Capones?
Well, yeah, because it's all part of the learning process, right? So let's say someone like Al Capone would die, which he did, and then reincarnate again into another being to learn another lesson, to learn more lessons, to grow, to eventually learn the how to be love and how to be connected and how to be um a being of the light, because that's what this is all about. It's
Mhm.
about learning to be beings of the light. It's about learning to grow. And the only way to do that is through contrast. You have to have contrast.
Mhm.
So you have to have the anger, you have to have the anger, you have to have the negative emotions, the they call it defilements.
Mm.
The Buddhists call it the defilements. You have to have those defilements in order to be able to see the difference.
I see.
Because Asher is telling me about this episode in MASH. Perfect example. Colonel Flagg says there is no war. You would not understand peace if it wasn't for war.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So as a higher self, you could have Al Capone and Mother Teresa among the humans that you're connected to.
Well, yes, I mean, yeah, it's all
Mm.
part of
So as
yeah,
the Al Capones begin to learn and develop and move more towards the light, you are the beneficiary of that somewhat.
yes. Well, it's all part of the system.
Yeah. Okay.
Part of the
Starting
system.
to get it. Yeah. Now, were you anything uh, other than a higher self? Did you come into existence, say, as a human and then learned and grew and graduated and became a higher self? Anything like that?
Um, well, the higher self is part of the human being. So it's kind of like I don't know how to it's kind of it's part of the human. It's not really it's just the upper part. The upper part that's not really connected or sort of connected but not really um it's not engrossed in the how do you explain?
Yeah.
I'm seeing in order to explain it, I'm seeing kind of like a valve that's kind of branching off to different like a water valve that has like different branches off to different beings kind of.
Mhm.
That's
You,
more really what it is.
you gave me the analogy one time
Sort
of
of
a
like a I don't, it's sort of like part of the being, but not quite the upper
yeah.
part. That's still so it's not really. Yeah.
Is the being also part of you?
Well, yes.
Yeah. You gave me the
It's kind of
analogy.
like that valve. That's the vision I'm getting is that valve, like that branches out.
Mhm. You did give me the analogy one time, a hand and a finger, higher self being the hand and finger being an individual human. Is
Sorry,
that,
what?
you gave me an analogy one time of a hand and the fingers on it. The hand being the higher self and the fingers being individual humans. Is
Yeah,
that a
that's
fair
kind
analogy?
of what it is.
Yeah.
So, like the gods are separate beings, but again, they're connected.
Mm. You were saying the higher self is part of the human, but it seems like the hand and finger, it's more that the human is part of the higher self. But I think you're saying
Yeah,
both.
yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's a piece.
Mm. Now, do you ever evolve, or do higher selves ever evolve into other beings or reincarnate and decide, "Ah, I'd like to be in someone?
Well, the reincarnation is part and parcel of the being itself, so kind of, yeah. The being itself reincarnates, the higher self kind of doesn't. It's sort of just so the finger would reincarnate, but the hand would still be the hand. Would be
Okay.
still part of it's the part of the being that doesn't reincarnate,
Okay.
I guess is the best way to put it.
Good to know. Now, in human terms, those fingers came into existence at some point in time. Presumably, the higher self existed before the humans did. Did you have a point where you suddenly came into existence?
Well, yes,
Mhm.
just as everything else did, but
Okay.
exactly when or how I really couldn't say. I don't have the same knowledge or connection to knowledge that those that are connected to the other beings do, like those
Mhm.
that are connected to the Pleiades and the other beings from other planets, as well as the gods and goddesses.
Mhm. Do you have a higher self?
Me?
Yeah. Are there higher selves of higher selves?
Yeah, I don't really. Not really. Sort of, kind of connected to spirit,
Okay. So it's human, higher self, spirit.
pretty much.
Mhm. Okay. And once we ascend, we're still connected with you. Um, let's see. Are you with a human through all of the human's lifetimes?
Yes,
Mhm.
that's kind of the idea. They reincarnate. They learn the lessons. Then the death comes, and then there's the life review, and then there's the classroom of learning, and then there's the reincarnation where the spirit then sees what needs to be learned, sees what still needs to be learned, and then picks a new life on a planet and so on with guidance from the higher spirits, and then
Mhm.
gets reincarnated to continue on the journey of learning new lessons.
Do you participate in that process? You know, the review
Mm,
and the design of the next life, things like that.
no, that's done by the spirit itself in conjunction with with the higher spirits.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's all connected as one. So in a way, yes, but sort of indirectly, I guess, would be
Mhm.
the way to put it.
I get the impression that a higher self will quite often prompt or suggest or nudge in some way a human. Um, I'm wondering to what degree you might intervene in the life of a human, or do you at all?
But it's kind of like looking through a glass window and seeing what they're doing, and you're just kind of trying to give hints and suggestions and trying to communicate with signs and symbols and through the intuition and putting things in place that they might see that might give them clues, but it's up to the human or the being to act on on those clues. Um, and sometimes they don't. And that's all where the lessons go. That's like, so the things might not work out well. And it's all part of the practice.
Mhm. When you started out as a higher self, did you all of a sudden have a lot of humans to connect with, or was that a process that grew over time as more souls were spun off from source, so to speak?
You have to think biologically in that way.
Mhm.
It's not a go to university, get a degree, and then apply for jobs. Not It's not what this is. it's sort of starting off as a baby, and then growing into the role